was assigned to him as he was taking a tour of the old neighborhood. Technically, he came back to Harlem and was just re-familiarizing himself. And this child, this very fortunate young fellow, was asked to come along with him. Here's Richard Wright, a most overlooked genius who famous for Black Boy, extraordinary art of art, and Native Son, which is just a riveting work. And but Richard Wright was a communist, and as a result, got on the wrong side of people who were able to ultimately be rather detrimental to his legacy. And I get caught up on the subject because I have a very strong feeling about him, and I wish he was a household name. And I'm always taken by the fact that he's not necessarily, whenever I mention him, too often I get puzzled looks or a confession that they don't know them.
What was the period he was working in, Richard Wright? In the 50s?
True. 40s. 40s, early 50s. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even some 30s.
Even as far back as the 30s. Did he write his, and by the way, Iyaba Mandingo.
I had to talk, that he's running around also. But he has a short story called The Man Who Lived Underground that Ralph Nelson used as his blueprint for The Invisible Man. Right down to right down to the move room with the light bulbs.
I recommend The Man Who Lived Underground.
Yeah. You know,
and I may just
probably the architect for the archetype
for Invisible Man.
A black man novelist / social commentary.
Okay.
Is Richard Wright.
Okay. Yes. And so you would agree? I know that
I'm not a big fan of his conversation when he goes to Africa because it's a little white.
Yeah.
Other than that, you know, I think when I went to his house in Mississippi in Jackson, he's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, Damon, Bigger Thomas is probably the greatest thing ever written.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as character.
As far as characters. And so I'm tempted to place a bouquet of roses or flowers on his on the stoops of the residence or the buildings he used to own in the village. And we know the place in Brooklyn that he lived, and we promised ourselves to go there. And we'll get a bouquet of flowers and we'll place it on this stoop. Here, as I would travel back and forth in my daily routine and business in the city, that's where I lived and operated, I would occasionally spot a brother reading on the train. And I would be so taken by the image. It turned into, I would ultimately sneak a photograph of them. Then it turned out I would become a whole lot more bold than that, and struck up conversations on the subject. And then at one point, reviewing and surveying this collection of images of black men reading, I said, I'm going to take this to the next level. I'm going to commit them to oil on canvas. Because it becomes too painfully apparent that you really see images of a black man, a black person. I take the responsibility for limiting my work thus far to black men reading, because I relate so strongly to the subject, and it's such a thought for me. But and that's my commitment. I do abstract, I do all kinds of art, but you know, I subscribe to that thought that which we're talking about Picasso, Bob Dylan. They see themselves as the enemy of society, or enemy of the establishment, not the enemy of society. In that their careers, their existences are not here for the purpose of elevating or promoting that which has too much advantage over us and means us no good. Only to the point where we become foreign or
City of New Haven, by the way.
to the point where we fit nicely into their machine to further their, I know, nefarious ends of resourcing humanity for their very selfish and greedy, just unthinkable ends. So I enjoy very much the work I do along the lines that are not to do with the representational, which this is. In other words, abstract art. I have a very warm home in that area of my work, but and maybe you'll be able to sample some of that one day. But so it took a lot. This is my long way of saying that if you knew how I felt along those lines, because it's so comfortable, so gratifying, that area. And there are people who do representational art, in my opinion, better than I do. But I excuse myself, and I rest on and say to myself that it's not necessarily the technical or it's not necessarily that aspect of what I'm doing that's important. The important thing is that I get images of black men reading out there. Now, if there are other artists who want to do work on the same subject, then I more than invite them, because a movement becomes so much stronger than just one individual pursuing, let's say, a direction, a course. So anyhow, so once again, my humble way of saying, I am very humble about what I have produced. I don't get a chance to look at it much because I'm off on other works, and it's good to see them go when they go. Several of them have been sold already. Let me share with you one painting in this series sold to the Housatonic Museum. Right? Talk about gratification. All my my relatives, all my ancestors, they stood up beside me and they all patted me on the back at one time, so it was palpable. But anyhow, we're moving along here, and so artists out there, do Black men read? It would be interesting to see the different points of view, or different signatures artistically of how they would go about theirs. But in the meantime, I'm committed to this for good. I had so much I wanted to say. I never rehearsed this, and was so sure that I'd be able to just
Larry, do you
share
have
with you all of it. But in the meantime, thank you for your
do you have
indulgence.
a short poem you might like to conclude with?
Let's see. I haven't done a woman's poem, a poem by a woman. When I was very little, though it's still true today, there were no sidewalks in Lincoln Heights. And the home we had on Jackson Street was right next to a bus stop in a sewer that never really became offensive. But one day from that sewer, a little kitten with one eye gone came crawling out. Though she never came into the yard, but just sort of hung by and watched the folk. My sister, who was always able to act effectively, started taking milk out to her, while my father would only say, "Don't bring him home." And every day after school, I'd rush home to see if she was still there and if Gary had fed her. And if I had named her, which I didn't, I'm sure I would have named her Carol. Nikki Giovanni.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
I'd like to introduce Iyaba Ibo Mandingo, the painter, poet, and actor and playwright. He's a native of Antigua, West Indies.
Read that big thing, lady? That huge thing, lady? Are you going to read all of that?
No, this is the first paragraph.
Okay.
Let's get a background. He came to the U.S. in 1980 from Antigua, he said. He says, he writes, his earliest exposure to the arts was through his mother, a trained singer, and his grandparents, a tailor and a seamstress, who first introduced him to colors and patterns, paving a way for many ways of expression, drawing, painting, sculpting, writing. He's studied fine arts at Southern Connecticut State University and teaches in the tri-state areas of master teaching arts. Former artist in residence at New York Theater Workshops, so that's an added dimension in the theater. And I will let you proceed from there. There's a lot more bio.
Thank you, sir.
Really bio.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
How are you guys doing?
Good. Thank you.
We got rid of that big one. It was wrong one. Just I'm reading. Okay, so my mother said I started reading when I was 3. I grew up in Antigua. I didn't come here until I was 11. 1980. September 26th of this year will make 45 years that I've been here. But we didn't have a television. And radio, my mother had radio. We could listen to the BBC on the transistor radio with the antenna, and I read all the Hardy Boys, all the Nancy Drews, all the pirate books, all the Sherlock Holmes. I devoured. So Nikki Giovanni, who's like Nikki Giovanni's a beast. Toni Morrison, who's like get the even above these two cats, for me, when it comes to words on the page. She says that best writers are readers. Just been reading ever and ever and ever. So, no, I did not think I'd become a poet. No, I did not think I'd become a novelist. No, I did not think I'd become a playwright. And I don't add them. I had to kind of, for me, the people that do this, that I'm in awe of, that I've had a chance to sit and meet people. With Santiago Hudson, who's like August Wilson's muse, and or Sam Elliott, and all those kind of people. To meet those kind of people, and you gotta wait to add that to your cachet. You know what I'm saying? So the current one is sculpture. It's not on my resume because I'm kind of getting there with the sculpting thing. So it's the same thing with poetry. And I got a couple books, and I bought some. So if you guys like something, you want to take some home, I'd love to sell it to you. I said I was not going to do this. I didn't check to make sure my feet. Talking in front of people is not natural. So in order to deal with the nerves, I kind of ground really quickly. Makes me comfortable. I start the same way. Every time. Probably 30 years now, maybe. Performing it, going all over the planet with it. And I start the same way. So and my grandparents, and my great-grandparents, and my great-great-grandparents. Like, I know that sounds metaphorical, coming from a poet, but it's my grandfather's nose. It's my dad's lips. My grandmother's brow. So I'm them. And they were, my grandfather was a sculptor who became a tailor. My grandmother was she drew and she sang. She became a seamstress because that made sense in the 40s and 50s when you're black. And artist is not really something that you can invent at that time. Though they approach their work that way. So I got to see that, like the discipline of creating, watching the seamstress who would draw from images that people would bring in from American magazines or British magazines. And be like, they want this bottom and this top, and she'd rip them and put them, and then like watch her draw. And then for a week she'd draw, and the next week she'd make the dresses. And my grandfather, who was 6'7", would draw with big chalk, and he would not use patterns. And so I got to see that, never understanding how I could translate it into. So I always start with them, like whoever the woman and man is from my generation on when we were not considered human beings in certain parts of the world. And was a poet, an actor, playwright, a sculptor. And, it's frustrating if you send that energy forward into a vessel that comes along eventually in your bloodline that gets to carry that. And that's how I kind of come to terms with the fact that people say multi-gifted and multi-genius and I just got a lot of my ancestors, and sometimes I got to do stuff like this so I know which one is going to drive today. And so I always start with the same thing. I start with this piece called Ancestors, or Iguns. I'm Yoruba and Igbo because I went to Nigeria and discovered that, and researched it and met my grandfather's people and saw my face and I realized why I have this nose and all the kind of things that make you go, oh, so I'm not ugly and I'm not this and I'm not that. I come from there, those people, and that's why I say, this word, and that's why I call it wari wari, and they call it owari, and I'm like, oh, okay. So that happens. So Iguns, Yoruba for ancestors. This old man, he played one, he told me to hold a gun, the knick-knack paddywhack, if you dog a bone. This old man came smoking home. This old man, he take two. He said, boy, just you be true. This old man, he played three. He said, boy, just you be free. This old man, he played four. He said, boy, don't take no more. This old man, he played five. He said, boy, just stay alive. This old man, he played six. He said, boy, just watch their tricks. He said, This old man, played 7, he said, boy, don't trust in heaven. This old man, he played 8, he said, boy, you were born great. This old man, he played 9, he said, boy, don't change your mind. This old man, he played 10, he said, boy, never again. Sits to me, like a tired old warrior contemplating his youth. Battles lost in one of his search for truth. Imagining myself as him and traveling back in time to see American technicolored black and white. Ku Klux Klan burned crosses in the night in response to our black demands were mute in southern magnolias were dead castrated peculiar fruit. When Jim Crow sign showed us our water fountains and before Martin Luther climbed his mountains. To all of this and countless more walk this old man who sits next to him. Skin so full of melanin, the South must have been rough for him. He must have swallowed all his pride to take American stride and still be here at 86 in spite of all the stones and sticks they used to try to break our bones and move his taps on English phones and all the blood that spilled and run and US manufactured guns and all the lying presidents. All the times they raised the rent and all the blacks to war they sent to die for them and all the sellout black leaders who lied for them. To all of this old man walked, and still to sit and hear him talk, his strength remains, his pride remains, his love remains, his stride. It remains. He died this year. I will not forget, and I haven't forgotten you, Mother. The wailing of your cries is within my ears. I haven't forgotten the way it felt to only have your child for a while and fear the auctioneer and becoming human steer. I remember your womanhood. You could pick 50 sachets of cotton. I haven't forgotten. You could face the whip. 3 months in a ship, founding fathers, invading hips, stealing your sons and daughters away. Today, tomorrow, African names become slipped and black people seem to love it and are willing to sit and watch them colonize you, imperialize you, globalize you, and Tarzan movie trivialize you. The warmness of your tropical womb, I still remember sucking raw melanin from your breast. Mount Kilimanjaro's peak, where cheekbones, black skin, nose, and lips survived the ships and whips and founding fathers invading hips. So they see both of your faces today too, and make them remember what they did to you. See, I'm good now. So, what is it? What do I have now? How much time do I have? How much time do I have?
Much as you want.
Okay, that's it. That was perfect. Because I can talk for 15 more hours. Never tell them.
Close at 8 o'clock.
Exactly how much time they have. I brought, like, this is called Fouilleton Heavy Like a 56. This is called Fouilleton Heavy Like a 56, like an updated version. And this is the latest, it's called seasoned rice. Seasoned rice is 1 pot. Everybody has 1 pot. Every culture has a 1 pot. It is when you, if you go back maybe 2 generations, that is how we survived. That is a grandmother with the magic to invent a pot of food that either has rice or some kind of broth as the main ingredient, as the main actor. And that thing can either can feed everybody, and then when the uncle shows up late, you can go and get, he can still get, he may not get as much meat and rice, he's going to get some broth, as we say in the Caribbean. And every culture has a version of that. So this is that. This is some essays, some letters, some poems, some prose, and some short stories. I like podiums. Sometimes, you know. Anytime you get a chance to use a podium, use that thing, you know? This guy over here. You tell I've been doing this for a little bit. Bones. Brilliant painter, Mojo Akedede. I met him when I was in Nigeria, in Ife, which is like to the Yoruba, it's like Mecca, or to Roman Catholic, or It's a center of Ifa spirituality, Yoruba spirituality. Brilliant cat, you know, he's my big brother now. When you're the older brother, you call junior brother, senior brother. So I'm the senior brother, he's the junior. I'm the junior brother, he's the senior. But he's an amazing painter. He uses, in the 70s he was going to school, ran out of money, art school. The president told me he was going to have to invent it, so he started painting with clay, with mud. And now he paints his paintings, these big 10-foot paintings with mud from all over the planet that he's got. And he has this way to kind of pigmentize it. Yeah, brilliant. So he did this piece called Craft. Bones, inspired by Mojo Okadeji. An ocean of bones connect me to you across the ocean blue. Breathing stale dungeon air packed and ready for shipping. European goods, cost and expenses, supply and demand, man, woman, and child. Marinating in the filth of fear and confusion, belly to back, foot to head, overstocked to counteract product damage during transportation. Sick, dead, and rebel flung into the throbbing sea. Ebony woman escaping lust, jumped to the freedom of death, into forever waters of blood and water and salt and peace. And triangle sharks, remembering the taste of sugar cane and cotton and tobacco and African flesh. Bones. Yeah. So why are there two of these? I think I'm gotten to the point now after 7 years. It'll be 7 years in June where I can do this without breaking down and balling in front of everybody. So here we try. Okay? So when I was almost done with this book, I lost my baby sister to cancer. 45. She was cold. She was my only woman. Even though I'm the eldest of 10, she was my only woman. The only one that she had among me at that age. Very lonely thing. So because I wanted to get the book out, because that is the one thing I promised her, this was like the thing we shared when she was going through the whole process of trying to fight, or fighting. She wasn't trying, she was fighting. I put the book out, so I took one of my paintings that she chose and put it on the cover. After she passed, I was able to kind of sit and draw. I did all my covers, I've done all my covers. I don't like middlemen, so middlemen take all the money, you know what I mean? So yeah, I do it myself. So I did it again, and then I added some poems for her in the back of it, so that you didn't feel like I was just repackaging or sending it back to you. But I wanted to like, she was my little big sister. She had balls, and I did not. You know? She was the one that got me to go on stage the first time, and she was going to be like, "Chico, get that." Grayish yellow, it's the first poem. Did not know loneliness, could not be so lonely. Cellmate, roommate, disappears into death, leaving me alone, with no one to remember with. Dark yellow. Yellow was my favorite color. She never got a chance to know, like, I never got a chance to bring her to Ifa. She was Oshun. Oshun is yellow. Oshun is like, if I used to use, is it Athena, goddess of beauty and war in the Greek and Roman? She was that too. Dark yellow. The darkest, gloomiest, coldest, painfulest, loneliest, scariest, brightest, burning, engulfing, yellow ever. My baby sister died today. I'm getting close. Getting close, right? Woo. So when you do this, right? Yeah. It was just do an essay. So I left her. Cool thing about acting, once I got learning is they tell you that when you want to do this on the stage, just think about like a moment like that. So it could be, you know, Jim is fighting because Martha just died, and Iyaba just thinks about his sister. And everybody's like, "You were so proud out there." I was. Well, I stayed locked up for a couple of hours to get back together, but I'm glad I pulled it off. Yeah. Everybody good still?
Yeah.
Okay, we're moving to time.
Thank you.
Yeah, oh, man, please,